His name is Richmond Din. Everyone's put our hands together for Richmond. What's up? How's it going, man?
Oh, Russell, what a great intro. Appreciate you. I'm so excited for this to be launching the whole speaker lineup for the whole, what I think is going to be the best FHL ever to date.
Oh, it's gonna be so much fun. And you, by the way, your audience, your people are here. They're all voting for you. The comments, they're like, it's gonna be Richmond. It's gonna be Richmond. So, congratulations, your people love you, and they're excited that you are here and to be part of this year's Funnel Hacking Live, which is so exciting for me. So, real quick, what time is it in the morning for you?
4:30 a.m. 4:30, which is the time I think everyone should get up.
Yeah, it makes way more sense to get up that time. So you're in Australia, right?
Yeah. In
Very
Australia, all
cool.
the way down under.
All the way down under, the opposite side of me. So before we get started, kind of talking about what you're going to talk about, like I'm curious because tell me about the very first funnel hacking live you ever came to, because you're on the other side of the world. And a lot of people are like, I can't travel because it's too far. And what's cool about this one, obviously, is it's virtual. But for you, what was the very first funnel hacking live you ever came to?
Yeah, it was actually during COVID, and I remember you ran one, and you ran a hybrid one. It was a live event, but then you streamed it as well because we couldn't travel out of our country to go, and so I had no choice but to go virtual. I actually wanted to go live. I had no choice, and so my thing was, that's the time zone difference. But I thought, like, this is the world's best marketing event. If I can't even get myself up for those 3 or 4 nights, it's plus I got 3 kids anyway, so you can do it as a parent, you can do it for your own business. And that was my first experience. And I remember watching it. I thought, wow, like this is amazing. And it's kind of funny. It's kind of gone full circle a couple of years later when the world opened up. And now here we are. And I remember watching that event thinking, wow, wouldn't it be cool to one day actually serve the room at that same event as well? And here we are, Russell.
And here you are. Now you got your shot and your opportunity, which I'm so excited for. And I'm going to ask you specific about what you're going to be talking about. But before we even get to that, I'm just curious how you got your start online. Like, what was the first thing for you that like kind of got you from being on the sidelines, looking in and watching what people are doing to actually start like a business and start having some success? And how
I
long
used
was
to,
that?
that was 7 years ago. I
Okay.
used to be an optometrist, so I was relatively in a respectable job and in a profession, from a society standard. However, like most people, they're in a job that they don't love. And I think that's where entrepreneurship is born, because you want to chase your dream, you want to chase your passion. And that was me. But 10 years as an optometrist, letting that go, I knew my parents would think I was crazy. But at the same time, it's also crazy to do what you don't love continually again and again and again. And so the reason why I transitioned, because I was a bit, I was like most people, I didn't want to leave optometry after 9 years. I'll wait 10 years and then I'll leave. I don't want to change at 29. I'll wait till 30 or 39 or 40. Wait till Monday to start. That was me.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you've been in it for the 7 years, which is really cool. And what's really this is what I'm excited for, because you messaged me before Funnel Hacking Live, or excuse me, before our last inner circle meeting. So Richmond's my inner circle. So he flies to Boise 2 or 3 times a year, it feels like, to come out and hang out with us. And before one of the trips, he messaged me and just said, hey, I have something really interesting I think would be useful for people. And he messaged me, and then we started talking about it. And when he came to Boise, I was like, I want to interview you on this. We did a whole podcast interview, which I think is going to be airing either this week or maybe sometime next week, which would be cool. People can dig in a little deeper and see some of the concepts behind it. But it was doing something that first didn't make any sense to me. You're like, I do these things, these challenges, but they're one-on-one challenges. And again, at first it didn't make any sense to me. And after you explained it, I was like, this is the most brilliant thing in the world. I was like, this is something that anybody could do right out of gates. Anyone who's struggling, it's like, I can't figure things out. Like, this is where you should start. Like, I wish I would know. It hadn't even crossed my mind. I wish I would have thought of this 10 years ago, 20 years ago when I was first getting started, because I think it's the easiest, like the least stress, least fear inducing way to get started. So I love you can talk about what in the world this is and a little bit about how it works.
Very cool. I think a backstory, because running challenges, I love running challenges, but when I can run almost 60 challenges now, but my first one, I was so scared of how do we market it? How do we fill it up? What if no one shows up? What if one person shows up? Which
That's
is
even worse.
the worst. Yeah, exactly. Because like you said, if no one shows up, no one knows, and that's all good. But as you think about it more, I thought, well, what if one person, maybe that could be a really good thing? Because then, like, the idea came from, what if I just did it as a one-on-one? Then it would take the stress away from marketing. It would take the stress away from actually trying to fill up a room and even have the tech and all sorted. And I thought, wow, like I'm relatively a beginner when it comes to running challenges, and this became like the perfect idea from fear. And
Yeah.
so that was the thing that was born. And I thought, wow, like if I had to start all over from scratch, that's exactly what I do, a one-on-one challenge, because I started out doing pro bono coaching, which is basically one-on-one coaching, one call a week for 6 weeks, and thought, well, wouldn't a one-on-one challenge be even better? Because you do one call a day for 5 days, and it's exactly the same, but you compress 6 weeks into 5 days, but it's wrapped as a challenge. People want it more, they get better results, and it's a great transition to get the upsell in a very short amount of time. And it removes all the imposter, it removes all the stress away from like the marketing. Because most people, when we start, like we're not the world's best marketers, and we're just learning. We don't even have clarity on our offer or the price or confidence. We don't even know what we're doing half the time. We're kind of just winging it. And it just became like the perfect model. And now like our students are just crushing it with this model too. And it just gives them this one step before we go to large scale group challenges.
Yeah. It's such a cool way to start. Like I said, at first I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And as you explained it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this could be really, really cool. Now, I can't remember exact numbers on the podcast interview, share some of the numbers, because people go through it. It's like typically a 5-day challenge, right? And you have a whole framework, what you teach and how you teach it, which is, I'm sure you can go deep on during the event. But at the end of the 5 days, then people make an offer for their next thing, right? Their higher end or whatever the consulting might be. And when you told me some of the percentages, like the numbers of people, the people are getting on that, like doing a free one-on-one challenge, what percentage they close at, it kind of blew my mind. Will you share about, I don't remember exact numbers, but I remember something I was just like, that's crazy.
Yeah. And so the average 3 out of 10. So they do 10 one-on-one challenges, and the one-on-one calls are not your traditional like 90-minute or 2-hour calls like a normal challenge. They could be just half an hour. So it's only 2.5 hours of your time. The average to upsell is 3 out of 10. 3 out of 10. And usually they have anywhere from a $2,000 to $3,000 program as an average. Some have a $5,000 program. So they could easily make their first $10,000 in the first month. Very easy in the first couple of weeks. Like that's as an average.
It's crazy. And then do you have a record holder who's highest conversion rate?
Yeah, we do. Her name's Tracy. She's just killing it. She actually scaled all the way to $100,000 doing this.
Just doing one-on-one challenges. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Which we recommend. Like at some point, you got to max out. That's the downside, because it's one-on-one. But she scaled all the way, and she's just crushing it. And her close rate ended up being close to almost 7 out of 10, selling a $5,000 program, which is like insane. It's
so cool. It's one of those things that like I feel like when you're doing a one-on-one challenge, there's so much reciprocity. At the end, there's like, man, you blew my mind. Of course, I'm going to buy the next thing you have. Which is, anyway, it's really, really cool, man. Like I think it's just such a unique, interesting thing. Let me ask you a question. So if someone wanted to do this, and again, they got to come to Flying Live to learn the whole model and how it all works, because you're going to go deep there. But like, how do they get their very first person? You know what I mean? Like, because again, you don't have to drive traffic or like run ads or anything. I'm assuming it's easier because you only got to get one, right? How does that typically work for someone that's first launching it?
Very cool. Well, that's kind of related to the special bonus too.
Oh, is it? Oh,
it was the last minute. Okay, I think this will be valuable for everyone attending FHL. But everyone, like the vast majority of people, have people in their sphere that are already wanting to work with them. Like, I mean, if you were to open up a brand new restaurant, like the first people you invite is your family and friends and your acquaintances. They're the first people that go through your restaurant. It's kind of like that when you're starting out as an entrepreneur. And so it's just really a matter about letting everyone what you're doing, the problem you solve, who you're solving, and then putting that call to action out, whether it's just through phone because you know them or your social media following. Like that's the easiest way to get your first 3, 4, 5 one-on-one challenge registrations.
So cool. So cool. All right. Now this is the other side of the story that I'm going to introduce this actually, yeah, I'll tell my part first. So we had the podcast interview, and in the middle of the interview, like this light bulb went off my head. I was like, why don't I do a one-on-one challenge? I know a lot of your clients, they do the one-on-one challenge where it's free or really low ticket. But I was like, what if I did a high ticket one just to see it? And I had no idea if it was going to work or not. It was funny because I had the idea and then I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do it or not. And then it was like 2 weeks later, my brother who does my podcast stuff, he's like, you forgot me a podcast for this week's show. Like, what are you going to do? I'm like, So I grabbed my phone and I was like, I didn't have an idea for a podcast. I was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing. And I just like talked about it for like 20 minutes. Like, it's going to be a challenge. It's like one-on-one. It's $100,000 to do 5 one-on-one calls. And like, I even said, I'm hoping nobody says yes, because I don't really want to do it. But if someone does, it'd be fun to just kind of whatever. And I was like, I'm willing to do it for 2 people and that's it. And we'll see what happens. And so I posted the podcast up, so just kind of forgot about it. And I told people to text. I'd set up like a Google Voice number on my phone. I had people text it, and I ended up getting 38 people who texted me saying they wanted me to do a challenge. Like it was like within an hour of my podcast dropping, my phone's blowing up. I was like, oh no, like I don't know if I really want to do this. So I started reaching out to the people. I ended up getting, I think about 8 people who were really qualified. And then I was like, okay. I'm like, there's no way they're gonna like. Anyway, in my head, I'm like, is this real? Is it not real? So I sent it out. Okay, here's like, all right, send me $100,000. And from that one guy, he's awesome. He actually messaged me back and he was like, as a joke, he was like, cool, do you want me to bring to Boise in a briefcase? And I was like, actually, I'm going to be doing an event with Dan Kennedy next week in Dallas. What if you brought a briefcase with cash there? And he's like, done. So he went and collected $100,000 in cash, flew to Dallas, and then brought it to me on stage at the event, which was crazy. And then one of the guys signed up too. So I got my 2 signups and I closed it down. And I have 2 one-on-one coaching clients that are like basically challenging me right now. And it is so much fun. Like the calls are awesome. The people are awesome. And I never thought I would do one-on-one coaching at all, let alone like one-on-one challenge. But I'm doing 2 of them right now. Super profitable. I told them both, I'm like, at the end, I'm going to pitch you something really expensive. I hope you say no to it, but I might get 50%. I don't even know. Who knows what's going to happen? So it's just following like your model, but it's just at a high tier. So I think for anyone to like, if you're low tier, like if you're a beginner, this is awesome. But like, again, someone like me, I was like, I can use the same strategy for what I'm doing. And it worked in a really cool way. Now you had one other thing with your recent one where we explained, you then sold tickets. People could watch. Walk me through how that worked.
That came from your idea too, Russell, when we were having that back and forth and during the podcast, because you were asking me like, this is like a free one-on-one challenge. And yeah, it's free. And then you were like, kind of saying, well, could you do paid? Like that's kind of the angle. And I thought I never entertained the idea of doing a paid one-on-one challenge because I've done paid group challenges, and of course it makes sense, like free and paid. And so as we were talking, you said like, what if like you did a one-on-one, but then allowed, say, 5 people to buy a ticket to watch you coach that person one-on-one to grow their business, and they don't get to get a chance to ask questions because you're not coaching them, but they actually get a seat to watch you do it. And the benefit of that is they can extract the value and apply it to the business. But when you do the presentation of the offer, you're making the presentation to more than just one person. So I did that model pretty much straight away. And we had 6 people watching and 3 people bought the next upsell. And
really? Half of them bought?
Yeah.
That's crazy. How much did you sell tickets to watch for?
$500. So I charged $5,000 for the one-on-one challenge.
Yeah.
Right. And $500 for a seat. And so we had 6 seats. And then the upsell was $25,000 and 3 people bought. And so it became almost like an $8,000 challenge.
That is insane. All right. That just changed the game again. All right. So this is just like Richmond's like one speaker at Funnel Hacking Live. He's going to show you guys like the model behind this. And what's cool is I've asked him if he'll share it because like for me, before I did my calls, I was like, is there a structure? And he's like, yes, I have a framework. I have a structure, send all that. So I knew exactly what to do on the calls and how to do it and all that kind of stuff. So like, don't go into it just blind, like randomly doing a call. Like there's a structure behind it. I think you're going to be sharing at Funnel Hacking Live. So we talk about just kind of what you're planning on presenting at Funnel Hacking Live so everyone knows exactly what they're in store for.
Yeah, because it's not like a group challenge. It's not like you rock up and you're speaking to a large audience. It's very intimate. It's very personal. And I know some people are like, oh yeah, I can try to do it but they go to a challenge and a lot of people like, funnel hackers, they'll hack a funnel or they'll go to a challenge and see how the challenge is done and kind of challenge hack, right? But you can't challenge hack a one-on-one challenge unless you actually yourself.
You're the one who did it, yeah.
Exactly. So you actually need a framework how to do it. It's very different because it's more personalized, more one-on-one. What you do on call 1 is different. What you do on call 5 is different. How you transition the offer is completely different. But it's just, it's just a really, really cool way to get started and get all the data and get the experience and confidence up.
Yeah, it's so cool. So for all you guys, again, Funnel Hacking Live this year, we're breaking down to like 0 to 6 figures, 6 to 7, 7 beyond. So Rich is going to be talking day number 1, talking about the strategy because it's something that literally, if you've been sitting on sidelines, you've been trying, you tried something and it failed, whatever. Like this is just such a low barrier of entry to get in, have success. Like you said, the worst case scenario, like 3 out of 10 are buying the upsell, right? So if you just do 10 one-on-one challenges, you run that for a month. And if you get 3 to buy your $3,000 or $5,000 thing on the next step, like that's that's an amazing income, right? And you get from that, you learn how to speak better, you learn to present better, you start getting your frameworks, your systems down, right? And then eventually you start doing bigger ones, group ones, and it can grow from there. But like from a beginning standpoint, like how do I get this started? How do I finally get paid for my advice and my ideas? This is like the easiest, lowest barrier, least stressful, most simple thing I think I've ever seen. Like when you present to me, I was just like, this is so brilliant. Everyone needs to be doing this, especially those who've been here for a long time. They just haven't got into the game because of whatever, fear, anxiety, it not working, can't afford ads, like insert any excuse. This basically smashes all of them. And just like, here, just go do the thing, right? Which is what's so powerful. So if you guys don't have your tickets yet to Funnel Hacking Live, you better come get them at funnelhackinglive.com. Now, Richmond, I heard rumor is that you have a speaker bonus you wanted to offer so people get their tickets to Funnel Hacking Live. Is this true?
100%. Yes. It's a crazy bonus.
What is the bonus you're going to give people if they get their tickets right now today to Funnel Hacking Live?
It's going to allow them to get their first 10, 15, 20 one-on-one tiny challenge registrations in the bag. So it's a script, it's a DM script. And this is just to, connect. It's not like cold messaging. It's not like outreach to someone you don't know, but it's a script to get someone from, liking your stuff on your content. And then within 3 minutes, under 3 minutes, they've registered for your one-on-one challenge. And so there's 4 phases to it on how to warm them up, how to get them curious, how to get them interested, how to get them committed to lock in the dates. And so that script there will be your ticket to actually getting a real registration to your one-on-one challenge. And then in 30 days, celebrate with, your first $20, $30, $40,000 online, which really does a massive thing to your own identity as a coach, as an entrepreneur.
All right. Thanks, Richmond. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you guys soon.